Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm Daffy Duck here, and we're back from the Maxi Toys, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Toy Story 3 for the Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, and PlayStation 3 and PC version where we're about to be using on, because, you know, compared to PS2 and the PSP versions, the gameplay mechanics are drastically different from one another. So anyway, last time that we actually did manage to done the first ever level in the game called Train Chase, and also showcase a brief on Toy Box mode to see how that main mode actually looks like. And, or in this case, Train Rescue if you like to prefer calling that. But anyway, so yeah, you can also just manage to interact with your little objects and what have you. I'll just actually just maneuver the thumbstick so that you can actually just interact with these mini objects in the world map. So even then, you can actually explore the story mode map, which is essentially on the left. And then if you go to the right, if you select Toy Box mode, which is essentially Woody's Roundup, this means the action mode throughout. So yeah, today for this video is that we're about to be continuing on with the story, which was we're about to be heading to Andy's house, hold the phone. And just like the ones in Toy Story 3, the film itself, that we're gonna have to go ahead and get ourselves a mobile phone. So that, well, you know in the film that Andy's now 17 years old at one point or another, but we'll explain more to the story.
I sent Rex to the basement to get the cordless phone. So now we just need to find Andy's cell phone. Then, when we call it,
Andy will find us with the phone and play with us one last time. I like it, cowboy.
Yee-haw! Let's do this.
So yeah, the ultimate premise of this level right here, we have to basically go ahead and go up and just trying to get a cell phone. I think you can only do this twice through this level. So here we have ourselves three different playable characters. Like we already mentioned before, you can play as Woody, and he's just as acrobatic as he used to be from Toy Story 1, but this is actually the first time you're going to play as Woody in a 3D Toy Story video game, as opposed to Toy Story 2, that again, that Woody is not a playable character in Toy Story 2 in the video game version, because, you know, Buzz Lightyear is playable for the whole time. So, in order to actually switch between characters by pressing, I think you have to press, like, the LB button or the Y button or something like that, because even then, though, that, again, we haven't been onto this game for a long period of time. But, as far as Woody's gameplay mechanics is concerned, he's quite acrobatic, and he actually uses his special abilities, such as like he can actually just use his pull string, so he can actually go through some specific objects and obstacles. And Buzz Lightyear, on the other hand, he does practically the same thing as it does it for Toy Story 2, but except that he doesn't usually have himself a, although, granted, those three playable characters do have double jump ability, so that makes it more of a count. And then he doesn't usually have himself some laser attacks, but we'll get into that eventually when we get to the next level. So even then, though, that you usually can do that. Of course, you can actually perform, or those three can also perform some wall jumps and what have you. And also, once you actually separate for each other, that you can actually throw the other playable characters into the other sidings. Like, for instance, if you actually chuck Woody over to this set of drawers. Oh, there's Ham here. Basically, that allows you to actually, just to clarify, to actually go for the other side. Now, time for the newcomer to the playable characters department in the Toy Story video game franchise is Jessie herself. Now, very different from, well, different from Buzz, even though she has the exact same abilities as it does it for Woody, but except she doesn't usually use the pull string in order to actually progress with each of his sections. Instead, that he actually just goes on to these little dodge stuff, and then yeah.
great, we got the cell phone. Now we just need to call it from the home phone.
Rex is still MIA.
And hasn't brought back the cordless phone.
We better see what's keeping him. Come on. There's the cordless phone. But how are we going to get it down?
Sir, I believe we can help. My men are deployed throughout the room, but tied up at the moment. If you can free them, they'll get that phone down safely. Guaranteed.
Thanks, Sarge.
So now we ended up in the basement section of this level, and basically that again, the ultimate goal to this level is by basically going ahead and just grab 2 cell phones so that they, you know in the film that in Toy Story 3 that I believe these soldiers did actually, all this Green Army Man, the soldier Green Army Man, that they actually just managed to grab themselves a cell phone from the basement all by themselves, I'm presuming. And I'm presuming that the other toys did actually manage to got the cell phone inside the toy box itself. And then after when they just starts to communicate the mobile phone and what have you, including the phone number as well. So even then they can actually communicate if Andy was about to get himself to actually play with the other toys again. But it turned out in the film that it doesn't seem to go too right with the others though, because again, the sense in the film did actually meant that Andy was now 17 years old, at least in Toy Story 3 anyway, because he now actually got himself a different objects and stuff, like basically some bunch of posters, and as well as the modern type of posters and stuff. Granted, I think I did already saw the he still have himself a Buzz Lightyear poster, so even then that he does make half that as well. Same goes for the likes of Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2 at the same time. So as far as the free character playable character system, I actually quite like this actually, because there's more likely to be just one playable character. Although there's some situations when we get into the other levels that we're gonna have to mainly focus on just only one character per level. In some cases though, you're gonna have to play as different characters. In this case, well, just 3 characters, and sometimes 2 playable characters all in one level. So we'll explain more into these types of levels until we actually progressing into the game. So even then, it will be kind of more observational or something. So for this final sequence, and I'm not kidding, this is actually the final sequence in this level, is by the fact that in order to actually get this last cell phone, you need to actually just approach into the Green Soldier Green Army, so that you could actually do performing some sort of the Green Army parachute gimmick. By basically, in order to do this, is by if you're actually trying to grab one of the Green Army Man, and then basically this allows you to actually do a little camera movement right there, and then if you actually press the R trigger button, or R2 from the PlayStation 3 version. I don't know about the Wii version, honestly, because I haven't looked up on the Wii version that much compared to the 360 version. But all you do here is by basically, I think you're supposed to do here is by actually taking 3 or is it 4? I'm pretty sure it's 3, I'm presuming, because in the film that it did actually put in 3 soldier army men to actually just you know, take the cell phone upstairs into the Andy's room. But I'm pretty sure you have to do like this parachuting thing like 3 times. But I believe it up there, though I think it doesn't do this much besides the collectible items. The collectible items are somewhat of a bit of an optional choice for understandable things, although besides you actually get yourself an achievement if you collect them all. But even then though, that it might be something more likely concept arts, some cash for something more related to, or in this case more costumes for specific townspeople in Toy Box mode in Woody's Roundup. And I think that's about it for the most part though, as far as when I was going to consider that. Yeah, you know these little 3 things right there, when it has like a little blue tab on it, that's the collectible cards. So even then though, it will be pretty optional. Again, because usually if you want to complete everything in Toy Story 3, you need to collect them all in some levels throughout. So even then I don't think these collectibles are just that much bad to find. But they can be really hard to actually find sometimes. So, yeah, that's all there is to it, basically. And, oh, there's actually one more. Okay, so we're wrong on that. You have to find, like, 4 Green Army Men, unlike how it does in the film. That is basically just 3, gold, I kept saying golden. The Green Army Men, unlike it does in the game, that you have to find just 4 of them, so then they can manage to carry it there. Just like how it does in the baby monitor from Toy Story 1. But even then, in Toy Story 1, it actually has like a lot of like Green Army Men to actually, you know, carry to do all sorts of things like seeing what Andy actually unwrap his presents were, and as well as the likes of the baby monitor carrying, and that's all there is to it basically. So yeah, basically this level is pretty simple for newbies, especially consists of, this is actually the second level. Oh crap, I didn't mean to do that on purpose. But basically this all the what this means us is that I don't know why we actually grab ourselves a card to begin with. But anyway, so today was actually the 2nd of November, or for that matter the 2nd of November so to speak, that we pretty much almost guarantee that we're almost done with just 2016 in general. And also 2 days left until North American releases of Mario Party Star Rush, if you want to notice this at this point in time, but yeah.
Good work. Get that phone to Andy's room. We'll find Rex and catch up with you there.
Yes, sir. You heard him, men. Move, move, move!
Around here somewhere, Zurg.
Rex, you were supposed to get the phone and come right back.
No!
The Buzz Lightyear game.
We haven't played this in years.
Yeah, I made it to the Gamma Quadrant. I'm almost to Zurg's fortress.
Guys, come on. We need to get back.
Rex, we know you can defeat him. Just do it quickly.
And would you look at that, there was actually a Toy Story 2 reference in this game. Yeah, not to mention we actually access to Buzz video game, which is essentially the 3rd level in the game. I don't know why that there was actually a Toy Story 2 reference in here and there, but at least they actually did mention that on I don't think they actually did mention that in Toy Story 3 as the film itself. But even then though, we actually have ourselves the Toy Story 2 referencing for this video game incarnation. So this is pretty cool though, to actually just to, you know, get a reminder of how this is actually referenced from. But yeah, besides the Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story 2, specifically the other copy of Buzz Lightyear, that he actually got himself a the ability belt. But I don't think he actually has that in this game though, unfortunately. So now we get to take control of Buzz Lightyear this time, and then basically in this first section on this level here is by basically, you can actually control him by using an analog stick, or in this case a thumbstick, whatever you want to point at. And there's also the ability to actually shoot these little pistols at on this case some lasers at those little meteors, which is actually kind of cool. And there's also some lock-on feature as well as from all that. And also the game audio, in this case this level's audio actually heavily borrows from Toy Story 2 at the very beginning of the film, which is kind of cool, I have to say that much. And also due to the fact that they, you know, they don't have the special bells or anything, unlike Toy Story 2 counterparts. But at least we got ourselves a, some missile, or in this case some meteors to destroy, and I'm presuming that most likely in Toy Story 2 that we're gonna have to make our way to Zurg's headquarters, which sure enough that might be true. And also you can actually just use some quick dodges, especially if you actually dodge those a lot of cliff sides, especially with these obstacles here. By doing so is by holding down the A button, I'm presuming, or for that matter, use the thumbstick and then the A button at the same time so that you can do some performance of quick dodges. And by the way, if you actually take damage by these certain obstacles, mainly meteors and some other, yeah, as you can see that right there, there's actually an item that you can actually do like an aid, the first aid pickup. So if you actually grab yourselves a green cross symbol, this means you actually get yourselves health increased. So yeah, that might be really helpful for you if you're actually having trouble situations like these levels here. But normally that I just usually found this level to be quite fun and interesting, because even then it kind of reminds me like I was watching Toy Story 2 all over again, but just on the video game version than more likely just the film itself. Whilst in Toy Story 3's plot, it was basically just to travel into a different certain amount of places. Because usually in Toy Story 1, that the entire takes place department, well, the beginning takes place in, as usual, Andy's house. But then later on, that Woody and Buzz sort of travels into, more likely, in Pizza Planet. And then after that, when Sid actually managed to win the crane game, that as soon as Woody and Buzz actually now get into, yeah.
Buzz, what's your status?
Jetpack overheating. Proceeding on foot.
Anyway, now we're going to take control of Buzz Lightyear on foot this time, and then basically what happens is in this sequence right here is that these too many meteors are about to crash landing, so even then, I believe if you actually get closer to what have you, and then I believe something else can really happen. Like if we actually, oh goodness gracious me, that sometimes though they're actually trying to break these platforms apart, and there's going to be a lot of bottomless pits all over the place, but I don't think these bottomless pits aren't too much bad to dodge though. But at least it's quite noticeable for that part right here. So yeah, as far as the actual level itself, I found this level to be really, really fun. Especially the long levels in this game eventually, because again, since this game doesn't usually have itself a Pizza Planet tokens collectathon, unlike Toy Story 2 counterpart, and I believe they something else can really happen now. Like, I think there's a giant meteor shower just actually crushes in. We're all gonna die! Oh wait, did we live? Somehow we did. Apart from these platforms have break apart.
Buzz? Buzz, are you there?
I'm through the meteor shower.
So this means we have to dodge a lot of bottomless pits now, so even then there's gonna be a lot of emphasis on dodging, just jumping over the platform to platform stuff. So, yeah, it's quite different from the likes of how it does in Toy Story 2, though was. But even then, though, even though we're still gonna get some bunch of references from Toy Story 2 until any second in this level. And also keep that in mind is that Buzz Lightyear actually has a hover department right there. If you actually tap the A button, like let's say twice, and then basically you can actually just hover for a few seconds, and then. Unlike how it does it in Toy Story 2 video game version, that Buzz Lightyear actually have himself a double jump, just like how it does it from Toy Story 2, the video game version I have to say. And then also that he can actually shoot some lasers at the enemies. So it's a bit like how it does it from Toy Story 2 video game version, but just not as like Pizza Planet tokens scenario. So it's just again a linear pathway type of feeling. So yeah. And we also got this very familiar enemies from Toy Story 2, from the beginning of the film, where we're going to have to take down those Zurg's troops. And then the more you're trying to take them down, they're actually just trying to attack you by these laser attacks. And also very familiar to Toy Story 2 as well, they can also destroy some crystals, which is very similar to how it does it from the Toy Story 2 film, that he'll actually break apart and then he'll try to burst through everything. Like, literally, right now. Jeez, we're getting a lot of, some mentionings on Toy Story 2 a lot, because even then, this is a level that's sort of a reference to the Toy Story 2 film, which I kept on saying a lot, because even then, that, it's very similar. Or in this case, it's more likely it's like a reference to it. So, believe it or not, though, that this level actually contains a secret achievement. By doing so, is by the fact that you need to actually reach to Zurg's, headquarters. Is by basically not to die once you reach to the headquarters. Because if you somehow do die from the bottomless pit or your health is depleted, this means you won't able to grab yourselves a secret achievement. Well, luckily for us though, we managed to get ourselves the secret achievement back in 2013. But I don't think we can actually do this again, because even then though, that again we actually got that back in a long time ago. So yeah. There's gonna be a lot of emphasis on destroying these crystals, because sometimes if you actually destroy there's a bunch of crystals, you can actually progress through each of the pathways, like these, some levels like these. So that's how this works. So oh, unfortunately though, we actually can't backtrack because we don't have any moving platforms right now, so yeah, a bit of a failure right there, but anyway, let's just see how this crystal actually just works out for the distance. And by doing so, it's basically similar to how it does it where Woody actually chucks these star balls at these enemies. Except that we're actually going to be using a laser all by itself. So just like how it does it for the first-person view from Woody for actually chucking these balls at these enemies themselves, mainly the targets mostly. So yeah. So unfortunately, we actually didn't do a challenge like getting to Zerg's headquarters without dying. So at least we actually got that on our profile, to the Maxi Toys profile, onto the Xbox 360 profile. Unless you'd be curious to actually purchase yourselves the PlayStation 3 version, which, oh darn it, I didn't make it way too early from that. Oh yeah, there's one more ability that we haven't sort of mentioned, is that when you actually press the X button, you can do like a dash attack, which you can also do that while actually just to perform like some actions and all that kinds of stuff. And then there's also another ability that you can actually perform, like we did, you saw that for a second ago. You can actually do a ground pound attack, which if you actually do a ground pound attack, you have to do like A and then press the Y button and you can actually perform yourself a ground pound. And that way, that will basically how this ability works. And then if you think you're trying to grab this special card from earlier on, that you can actually keep it forever. It's not like you have to grab it over and over again, unlike how it does it in, I'm assuming in, I don't know what game that you can actually deal with that kinds of stuff, but that's just how it is for me. So, yeah, I actually really had a lot of fun with this level, because, you know. So, occasionally at some points in this little sequence right there, that we're gonna have to mainly deal with another type of gimmick where we're gonna have to ground pound those, in this case, ground slam, those, oh gosh, dodge the shockwave from that little explosion. And yeah, we usually have to ground pound those types of platforms right there, so you can actually just let the air, oh darn it, I completely forgot about that naturally, so, although, yeah, that's how that works basically from that bit of situation with this section of the level. Sometimes though, that if you couldn't tell already from the train rescue level, as well as the Andy's house, is that the levels themselves can be broken off into two different sections, or in this case, two different segments. Like in a train rescue, it's going to be broken off into two segments, and then also Andy's house as well. And I'm pretty sure though that in the Buzz video game, that it might actually influence the two segments as well, which that might be true for that part, but let's just say that much until for later. And now we come to probably the last platforming section, which I'm assuming, if I remember rightly, that it won't be true, but anyway. So yeah, again, the music for this level is basically, oh come on, why can't I go forward? I mean, why can't I just go like forward into the moving platform? But I'm guessing the platforming movement is a bit too much. But I digress though. So yeah, you know, as far as the actual game audio soundtrack, heavily borrowed from, or some of them are heavily borrowed from the previous Toy Story films, mostly Toy Story 1 and 2. Then some of them are quite original and just all new. So I actually do really love the oh come on, really? Yeah, but again, it's just that we haven't been to this game for the longest time, since 3 years ago. And speaking of such, the I believe we managed to, oh, for the love of God. Why can we stop doing that? God damn it. I think we're mostly just a little bit too hasty at points or another, folks. It's just basically, oh, come on! Enough of falling down to the bottomless pit! Come on. See if we can make this time. Yeah, you also have to watch out for these bombs floating around so that you don't want to get too many knockback occur like we did from the train rescue, so even then that you won't able to manage to you'll actually lose your health instantly once you fall down to the bottomless pit down below. Unlike the fiery carts or what have you from the train rescue and stuff. So yeah, somehow that again, I think I already mentioned this before, that I think this sequence doesn't make an appearance in the actual Toy Story 3 film, although, granted though, just like in Toy Story 2, that it actually has itself a Super Nintendo controller cameo, which, what I've saw for this shape, I always assumed that it's going to be bringing a Super Nintendo, specifically the North American version of the Super Nintendo's model, that makes this a cameo into Toy Story 2. Like the console itself and even the controller. But even then though, I think the controller colors-wise, it looks very different compared to the actual Super Nintendo controller. Because rather than just having ourselves a little purple and light purple-ish type of color buttons, mostly the full-face buttons, including the black D-pad as well. But in natural reality, we got ourselves an orange D-pad and as well as these 4 colored buttons, very similar to the Super Famicom buttons and stuff. How the hell did they hit me right there, up in that, up in the skies? Now, let's take these, let's take down these enemies first, before we actually progress into the story. Well, specifically in this level in this case. Oh yeah, there's one more thing we haven't mentioned this in the actual playthrough itself, is that once you purchase your PlayStation 3 version, you get yourselves the exclusive content, and the ones in the 360 version and the Nintendo Wii version is that in the PlayStation 3 version, you get yourselves yet another 4th playable character, in this case another playable character, well, only for the Toy Box mode, and that was you have the ability to play as Zurg from the Toy Box mode. So yeah, it's kind of cool and interesting to say from that much with that much respect. But unfortunately though, we haven't owned the PS3 version due to the fact that we have actually already owned the 360 version. Oh yeah, this is actually the last part of this sequence right there. Which, very similar to how it does in Toy Story 2, that we're gonna, presuming, I think we have to deal with this little, eye thingy, which comes out this little hole thing here. And, just like so, that we're gonna have to use this laser blast to actually just demolish that, eye robot. And just like the ones in Toy Story 2, it opens like so. So, onwards, downwards to the Zurg's head fortress we go. So, let's get ready to defeat Zurg.